Do you really believe you could just uproot your parents and move them into our home without even consulting me first? I asked, my voice trembling with a mix of anger and disbelief. Ryan, my husband of 6 years, glanced up from his laptop with a smirk that had become all too familiar and despised. "Oh, Amelia, don't be so dramatic," he replied. "It's just for a while, and besides, it's not like you have a say in this." His words struck me like a slap in the face. This house, a charming two-story nestled in a quiet suburb, wasn't just any house. It was the home my grandparents had left me. It was the place where I had envisioned raising our son, Lucas, away from the toxicity of Ryan's family. "You do remember that this house is in my name, right?" I retorted, my hands clenched into fists at my sides. Ryan's expression faltered, his smugness giving way to uncertainty. Just as our 2-year-old Lucas toddled into the room, I forced a smile for his sake. He was blissfully unaware of the tension. "I'm not okay with this, Ryan. Your parents have never respected me or our space. Why now?" I struggled to keep my voice steady. Ryan shrugged indifferently, stoking my frustration. "Their family, Amelia. You wouldn't understand." The word family echoed in my mind mockingly. My own family, who ran a small but beloved coffee shop in town, had always been my sanctuary. The doorbell rang, interrupting our standoff. Through the peephole, I saw them. Ryan's parents, suitcases in tow, ready to invade our lives. "Fine, Ryan, let them in. But this isn't over," I hissed, handing Lucas to him before opening the door. "Amelia, darling," cried Ryan's mother, sweeping past me without a second glance. His father followed, a stern man who had barely acknowledged me since our wedding day. As they settled in, making themselves comfortable in my living room, I felt a sense of intrusion that was all too familiar. This was just the beginning, I realized. But as I watched them, something within me shifted. I was done being the compliant daughter-in-law bending to their whims. Retreating to the kitchen, my mind raced. This was my home, my sanctuary, and I was ready to fight for it. The following days turned into a blur of unwelcome changes. Ryan's mother, Elaine, had a way of making her presence known in the most suffocating manner. She rearranged my kitchen, criticized my parenting, and treated our home as if it were her own. "Lucas shouldn't be eating that, Amelia. It's not healthy," Elaine chided one morning as I prepared Lucas's breakfast. Returning a sharp retort, I felt the familiar sting of her judgment. "He's fine, Elaine. It's just cereal," I sighed, shaking my head. "In our house, we believe in a proper diet. You really should learn." Her comments were like needles, each one pricking at my patience. Ryan, as usual, was of no help, buried in his work and oblivious to the growing tension. One evening, as I put Lucas to bed, Elaine barked into his room. "He's still not sleeping through the night. You must be doing something wrong." Her words were a slap in the face, undermining my efforts as a mother. "I'm doing the best I can," I snapped, unable to contain my frustration. "Your best isn't good enough. Maybe if you had a real job and some structure in your life," she retorted. I felt the surge of anger. "This is my house, Elaine. You're a guest here. Don't forget that." Her laugh was cold and dismissive. "Oh dear, Ryan never mentioned how delusional you are. This is his house too, and as his mother, I have every right to be here." The following day, I reached my breaking point. I found Elaine in Lucas's room, going through his drawers. "What do you think you're doing?" I demanded, my voice trembling with anger. "I'm just organizing." "This room is a mess," she replied, not even bothering to look at me. "That's it. I want you out of my house now," I exclaimed, feeling a mix of fury and desperation. Elaine turned to face me, her expression one of mock surprise. "Your house? Oh, sweetie, you're just the wife. This is Ryan's house too, and he wants us here." I stormed out of the room, my mind racing with 1,000 thoughts. Ryan's betrayal, Elaine's intrusiveness, the way they dismissed my feelings. It was all too much. I had grown tired of being pushed around, weary of my home being invaded by people who had no respect for me. That night, as I lay in bed, a plan began to form in my mind. I was going to take back control of my life, my home, and my son's future. Ryan and his parents had crossed a line, and it was time for them to learn that I wasn't going to be their doormat any longer. The fight was just beginning, and I was ready. A few days later, Ryan dropped a bombshell during an already tense dinner. My parents need to stay with us longer. Their house is undergoing renovations, he said nonchalantly, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. I felt my blood boil. Longer, Ryan? We never discussed them staying in the first place, I objected. He shrugged, avoiding my gaze. It's just for a few more weeks. What's the big deal? The big deal is that your mother treats me like an intruder in my own home. I snapped, my frustration reaching its peak. Elaine, overhearing our conversation, chimed in with her usual condescending tone. Amelia, you're overreacting. We're family. You should be more accommodating. Their words echoed in my mind, fueling a growing resolve. I wasn't going to let them walk all over me anymore. It was time to fight back. The next morning, I called my brother Alex, who had always been my confidant. They're taking over my life, Alex. I can't take it anymore. I confessed, choking back tears. Alex's voice was firm and supportive. Amelia, you need to stand up for yourself. Don't let them bully you. It's your house, your rules. His words were the push I needed. I decided to confront Ryan, but this time I would be prepared. I gathered evidence of Elaine's overbearing behavior, the rearranged kitchen, the disrupted routines, her constant belittling comments. Confrontation day arrived. I waited until Elaine and Ryan were in the living room. We need to talk now, I announced, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. Ryan looked up, surprised by my tone. What's this about, Amelia? He asked. It's about your parents, Ryan. Their constant interference, their disrespect for my boundaries. It ends today, I declared, holding up my list of grievances. Elaine scoffed. This is ridiculous. We're just trying to help. Help by undermining me at every turn, by treating me like I don't matter in my own home. I countered, my anger palpable. Ryan shifted uncomfortably. Amelia, they're my parents. We can't just kick them out, he protested. No, Ryan, they're guests in my home, and they've overstayed their welcome. Either they leave, or I do with Lucas. I ultimatumed, my resolve unwavering. The room fell silent, the gravity of my words hanging in the air. I saw the flicker of realization in Ryan's eyes, but it was Elaine who spoke first. You wouldn't dare, she hissed, her facade slipping. Watch me, I retorted, my voice laced with determination. That night, Ryan's parents packed their bags. As they left, Elaine shot me a venomous look. You'll regret this, Amelia, she warned. But as the door closed behind them, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. It was the first step in reclaiming my life, and I was ready for whatever came next. The days following Elaine and her husband's departure were eerily quiet. Ryan's demeanor had shifted to one of cold detachment, his interactions with me minimal and strained. I found solace in the peace of my reclaimed home and the joyous laughter of Lucas. One evening, as Lucas played with his toys, Ryan announced, I've got to go on a business trip. I'll be gone for a few weeks. His tone was indifferent, as if our strained relationship had taken a backseat to his career. Fine, I replied curtly, barely concealing my relief at the prospect of his absence. After Ryan left, the house felt different, liberating even. I started to revert the changes Elaine had imposed, each alteration feeling like a small victory. But the true turning point came when I stumbled upon a series of emails on Ryan's laptop, which he carelessly left open. They detailed an affair, an ongoing betrayal that cut deeper than any of his mother's snide remarks. Anger, hurt, and a sense of betrayal churned within me. I decided it was time for Ryan to face the consequences of his actions. I began to meticulously plan my next moves, each step calculated to ensure that Ryan and his family paid for their deceit and manipulation. The first step was to secure my financial and legal standing. I contacted a lawyer, explained my situation, and started the proceedings for what was now an inevitable divorce. Next, I turned my attention to the house, the symbol of my grandparents' legacy and my independence. I reached out to a real estate agent. I want to sell the house quickly and quietly, I told her. She was taken aback but sensed the urgency in my voice. Are you sure about this, Amelia? This is a big decision, she cautioned. I've never been more sure of anything. I replied with a resolve born of betrayal and newfound strength. The house went on the market, and within days, offers began to roll in. The thought of Ryan returning to find his precious control stripped away brought a bitter satisfaction. In the midst of this, I reconnected with my family, drawing strength from their support. We're here for you no matter what, my father assured me as I watched Lucas play, innocent and unaffected by the turmoil. I made a silent vow to protect his happiness at all costs. Ryan's return loomed on the horizon, but I was no longer the woman he had left behind. I was ready to confront him, armed with the truth and a plan to reclaim my life. The day Ryan returned was marked with a tension that hung thick in the air. I had rehearsed this moment in my mind, envisioning every possible outcome. Yet my heart raced as I heard his key turn in the lock. Amelia, I'm home, Ryan called out, his voice echoing through the now unfamiliar space. I emerged from the kitchen, my posture rigid. Welcome back, Ryan. We need to talk, I announced. He glanced around, noticing the changes I had made. What's going on? The house looks different, he remarked. I didn't flinch. I sold the house, Ryan. It's no longer ours. His face contorted with disbelief. You did what? You can't just sell our house without telling me, he protested. It's my house, Ryan. And after what I discovered, I don't think you have a say anymore. I said my piece, my tone steady but laced with simmering anger. He scoffed, trying to regain his composure. What are you talking about? The affair, Ryan? I know everything, I revealed, watching as his facade crumbled. His attempt at denial was weak and short-lived. Amelia, it's not what you think, he pleaded. I think it's exactly what it looks like. You betrayed me, our family, I retorted, the hurt evident in my tone. Ryan's expression shifted from shock to anger. You're overreacting. We can work through this, he insisted. There's no we anymore, Ryan. I'll file for divorce, I declared, handing him the papers. The ensuing conversation was a blur of accusations and denials, but I stood my ground. The man I had married was gone, replaced by a stranger fueled by selfish desires. As he stormed out, vowing to fight the divorce, I felt a sense of liberation mixed with apprehension. I had taken the first step towards a new life, but the battle was far from over. In the following weeks, the reality of our situation became public. Ryan's parents, once so imposing and confident, were now caught in the crossfire of their son's indiscretions. Their attempts to contact me were met with silence. I had severed all ties, focusing solely on Lucas and the finalization of the divorce. The day of the court hearing arrived. Ryan looked defeated, the weight of his actions finally dawning on him as the judge granted the divorce and custody of Lucas to me. I felt a sense of justice. Ryan's plea for reconciliation after the hearing fell on deaf ears. You made your choice, Ryan. Now live with it, I said, turning away from him for the last time. The news of our divorce and Ryan's affair spread, affecting his reputation and relationships. His parents, once so proud and judgmental, were now shunned by those who had once respected them. As I walked out of the courthouse, holding Lucas's hand, I realized that this was not just an end but a new beginning. It was a fresh start for me and my son, free from deceit and manipulation. The future was uncertain, but it was ours to shape. Life after the divorce felt like emerging from a long, dark tunnel into the light. I had regained control, not just of the house, which was now sold, but of my life. Lucas, blissfully unaware of the adult complexities, thrived in the love and stability I provided. My days were busy but fulfilling, with my focus now on rebuilding our lives and managing the coffee shop, which had become my sanctuary. However, the shadow of Ryan and his parents lingered. One day, As I was closing the shop, Ryan appeared, looking disheveled and desperate, a stark contrast to the composed man I had once known. "Amelia, please, I need to talk to you," he pleaded, his eyes searching mine for a hint of the compassion that once existed. I hesitated, the sight of him stirring a mix of emotions. "What do you want, Ryan?" I asked, my voice tinged with embarrassment. "I can't afford the alimony and child support. I lost my job because of the scandal, and my parents, they broke too," he confessed. His words were like a cold splash of reality. "That's not my problem, Ryan. You made your choices, and now you have to face the consequences," I said firmly, closing the chapter of our shared past for good. As I walked away, leaving Ryan standing alone, I felt a sense of closure. The journey had been painful, filled with betrayal and heartache, but it had led me to a place of strength and independence. Life moved on. Lucas grew, his laughter and curiosity filling our home with joy. The coffee shop flourished, becoming a hub of warmth and community. As for me, I found contentment in the simple pleasures, the smell of fresh coffee, the sound of Lucas's giggles, and the support of friends and family. Ryan and his parents became distant memories, their legacy a cautionary tale of the consequences of betrayal and selfishness. My journey had taught me the power of resilience and the importance of standing up for oneself. As I locked the shop that evening, I looked up at the sky, its hues of orange and pink signaling the end of another day. I smiled, holding Lucas's hand tightly. Our future was uncertain, but it was bright. We were moving forward, one step at a time, into a new chapter of our lives.